הניסים ועל המורכב ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל הנפלאות, על הניסים ועל המורכב ועל הגבורות ועל התשועות ועל הנפלאות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, בזמן הזה שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה.
Welcome to Jewish Life, a program presented in cooperation with the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. I'm your host, Stewart Ain. Every week we present programs of particular interest to the Jewish community, and today we're honored to have as our guest, Ben Lesser. He's a Holocaust survivor who, in March of 2023, was honored by the Germany, by the Federal Republic of Germany, with the Cross of the Order of Merit. And that was awarded the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, selected Mr. Lesser for this prestigious award in recognition of his outstanding commitment to the commemoration of the atrocities committed during the Holocaust. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great, great.
Thank
Tell me a little bit about that ceremony. The Consul General, Stefan Schneider, actually presented the award to you.
Yeah, it was very interesting. The whole family was there. It was a touching situation, especially coming from Germany.
Yes.
I mean, that's the place where all this killing has been done. And this is the place that awards me for doing just that. I'm keeping this world from acquiring amnesia. Keep reminding them of what happened to the Jewish people. 6 million of us, 1.5 million who were children, and I won't let the world forget. And yet, the president of this land where this has been committed awards me for doing just that, reminding the world on the atrocities.
I have the remarks of the Consul General, Stefan Schneider, said your contribution in keeping awareness of the Shoah alive is just wonderful, simply inspiring, especially your pivotal role in this commemoration and your tremendous endeavors in reconciliation. It is truly touching how you reach out to the German people. We all remember together, ZACHOR. So he's trying to do what you're doing, trying to remember. But I'm afraid it's not as well known. Not every state in the United States, for instance, even requires that the Holocaust be taught in public schools.
That's true. That's true. And this is something we're working on very hard to try to change. We were successful in Nevada. This is the first year they're going to start teaching about the Holocaust, not just the Holocaust, Black history, Indian history, history.
Yes.
Is history. You don't pick and choose. So we were very grateful that it happened here in Nevada, but a lot has to be done to keep this world, especially all the United States to fall in and start teaching about history.
Yes.
Imagine that they teach World War II and they skip the Holocaust. There are many high school kids that graduate high school, they don't even know what the word Holocaust means. And that burns me up. And this is why I'm so involved, to keep this world from forgetting.
Yeah, now you started this group, it's called ZACHOR Holocaust Remembrance Foundation in 2009. You're
Yes.
now 94, and you've had some success with it. I understand that when you speak to a group, you give out these little pins that say the word ZACHOR, remember, on it. And
Right.
you've given out something like 2 million pins.
There it is. That pin I gave out, we've given out about 2 million. We're hoping to give out 6 million to compensate for the silenced voices.
Right, right, right. Now you yourself endured, you were a kid when all this happened. I think you were 16 after when the war finally ended.
Correct.
But you endured as a teenager so much. Can you talk about that 4 camps you were in?
Yes. How much time do I have?
You have a half hour.
Well, I don't know where to begin. My story takes an hour and a half or 2 hours.
It
Anyway.
does, okay. Well, you were in Auschwitz, Dachau, Buchenwald, and Donau. Can you talk about that? Or
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. When the war broke out, I was 10 and a half. And from 10 and a half to 16, I went through hell on earth, running from one ghetto to another ghetto and hiding. And with so many miracles happened to me that I was able to skirt, I say skirt, death many times. And I'm asking myself why. The only answer I have is God needed a witness and someone who can talk about it. Anyway, there's so many miracles that I survived all of them.
You were born in Krakow, Poland,
Yes.
and among the miracles, you survived a 7-week-long death march.
7 week, 460-kilometer death march. What I went through in Auschwitz is a story in itself. And they sent us to a labor camp called Durnau. It was a rock quarry. As they dynamited the mountain, it was our job with sledgehammers to break down the pieces to manageable pieces, throw it in mining carts, run it down the hill on tracks to the grinding machine, make gravel out of it, push it back up. It was back-breaking work. And I also, of course, that march, I can't believe that I survived 7 weeks, 460 kilometers from Durnau to Buchenwald. And we arrived in the Buchenwald. The next day, they put us on cattle cars again, and 82 cattle car, and they moved us out of Buchenwald because Buchenwald was also being evacuated. So we're now on our way. We don't know where, but the end result was we arrived in Dachau.
Right.
Now, there were over 5,000 people on that train, on those cattle cars. And when we arrived, and they didn't give us food. When they first put us in the cattle cars, they opened up the doors and they threw in 80 breads, a bread for each person. Picture this, the people who were next to the door were grabbing 4 or 5 breads, and those of us who were against the wall had none. We don't know where we're going for how long. Anyway, I had to get a bread. So I climbed over the inmates to go to the door, wrestle out a bread from someone who had several of them. On the way, somebody stabs me, and I feel a stab in my throat. My mouth is filling up with blood, but I can't let go. I have to get a bread. Finally got a bread, and I go back to my cousin. He says, Ben, you're bleeding. And I put my finger here, went right through my tongue. I still have a big gash left showing. Anyway, I had one bread between the two of us, my cousin and I rationed it out the size of a half an egg every middle of the night when no one can see us. Because if they knew we had bread, they would kill us for it. And anyway, it lasted 2 weeks. But that train shuttled back and forth for 3 weeks. No food, no water. All I had is one bread. After 2 weeks, it was gone. 3 weeks, that train arrived in Dachau.
No water?
What?
Was there water?
No water. No water. At the beginning, they had 2 buckets of water, but it was gone right away. And then occasionally, a guard would allow us to fill a bucket with snow. Occasionally, maybe twice during the whole trip. So no food and practically no water. 3 weeks, everybody dies. And out of the 5,000 arriving in Dachau, only 18 of us walked out alive. 18, that's all.
How many others were on your car who survived? Were you the only one?
All right. So my cousin and I walked out too, but he died in my arms the night of liberation. And anyway, out of the 18 who walked out of the train of 5,000, I'm the only survivor today, alive. What can I tell you?
You said the train went back and forth between Dachau and Buchenwald. You mean they would just go back and forth? They didn't want to stop. They just wanted everybody dead.
They didn't go back and forth. They went all the way to Czechoslovakia and back. Of course, the front was closing in, so some of the tracks were I guess, ruined or bombed or something. They kept shuttling us back and forth, and finally we wound up at Dachau.
You think the objective was for everybody to die on the train? Is that what they were trying to do? They were trying to make this literally a death train?
Yes, literally that's what happened. We stopped in one community. I didn't know about that, but a school teacher who lives in that community contacted us. He says the train was standing there 5 days and 5 nights. I didn't know that because to me, moving, standing, it didn't matter anymore. And it stood there 5 days. And they needed 10 cattle cars. The Nazis needed 10 cattle cars. So they emptied out the last 10 cattle cars, 794 people, and everyone was shot. And they threw them into a dump, to a ditch. And three weeks later, Eisenhower liberated that community called Nemmering. He liberated that community, and he found all these dead bodies. He got very angry at the town, and he made all the townspeople pull out these bodies, clean them up, dress them, put them in a separate casket, and they buried them separately with a cross. Anyway, lucky for me, I wasn't in one of those 10 cattle cars. I may have been the 11th one, who knows? Anyway, any questions?
Yes, well, so ZACHOR, tell me about ZACHOR. You've started a curriculum for school children as well?
Yes. It's the only curriculum written by a Holocaust survivor. Because I saw that they're not teaching in schools, and I contact the principals, I wanted to know why. They say, well, Mr. Lesser, our Holocaust books fell apart. We can't afford to buy new ones. Anyway, that's an excuse, and the teachers gave me an excuse. They don't have enough time. So I decided to write a curriculum to stop this once and for all. Now the principals can't complain. It costs money because it's free of charge. And there are thousands of school teachers teaching out of my curriculum all over the world, all over the world.
Right, right. What about in Germany? Do they require Holocaust education in Germany?
Yes, they require, but it's left up to each teacher. Obviously, the teachers are not proud of the story, so many of them just skip it. But I am doing my best to make sure that they teach it in Germany. And in fact, in Bavaria, Germany, they gave out my book, they printed my book, and they gave it out to thousands of high school kids to make sure they read it. And this was such a big honor, you can't imagine. In Bavaria, every high school kid knows my story, but I'm working with Germany to see if we can expand it.
Is that the most responsive country in Europe in terms of the Holocaust?
Yes.
Are they the most responsive?
Yes, they are the most responsive. Well, the fact that they chose me and they gave me the Cross of Merit shows that they know about me, you know, and I'm not only in Germany, I'm in many countries, and yet Germany chose to do that. That's quite an honor.
Is that you're wearing the cross now? Am I right?
Yes.
The Cross of Merit now? Yes.
The red one, yes.
Yes. Wow. Wow. That's quite a thing. That they recognize that you're doing this work. And in your acceptance speech, you said you were honored. And you said, with the rising anti-Semitism in the US and across the world, sharing my story in partnership with Germany is more important than ever. And we're seeing this tremendous rise in anti-Semitism. I don't remember it being this bad in years. Do you?
That's true. It's rising, and there's very little that could be done. I have a way that I feel we could stop it, but this is something in this country it's going to be very hard to pass. I feel that anybody who is found who's involved in hate speeches or any kind of a hate crime, they should be put in jail and solitary confinement. If they're not afraid of jail, in jail they're heroes, but in solitary confinement, they would be scared. And this is one way I feel you can stop it in this country, America.
Wow. Wow. Any kind of hate, not just against Jews. You're saying any kind of hate.
Kind of hatred, of course. Any kind of hate crime. It doesn't only apply to Jews.
Right. And well, that'd be interesting. I wonder what those people who have guns also, that's also another problem in this country, all these people attacking school children, etc.
Yes, yes. It's the problem is the internet. It makes it so easy for them to disperse their hatred. And all over the world, and millions of people hear it. So this is what happens. and there's nothing we can do. We can't stop the internet. But a hate crime of any sort should be punished the right way.
You said that you've spoken with to groups. You go to schools. You speak in assemblies. Can you talk about what your efforts have been?
Yes, I speak in schools and in organizations all over the world, but lately I speak mostly on Zoom because of the pandemic.
Sure.
I stopped going to schools, but I haven't stopped speaking.
Right. So you speak to groups. They contact you. How do you get?
Yes. People find out about me different all over the world, and I speak. Not even in the United Nations, I had an hour and a half speaking to millions of people. Yeah.
An hour and a half you spoke?
Yeah, they only allow a half hour, but they gave me an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I was the only one.
Wow. Wow. So can you tell us what was your main theme there other than ZACHOR? Remember, what did you talk about?
The remembrance, the Holocaust, what I went through, and what other millions have gone through, and how millions of us lost our lives. It all started with hate.
Yes.
The Nazis and Hitler did not start with killing. They started with hate, propaganda, and this is how it began. So the hatred has to stop.
Well, that was it. There was a PBS special, a 3-part special, in which they talked about America and the Holocaust and what role the United States had. And
Yes, I saw that.
Yes, yeah, I thought it was a good show. I thought he did a good job.
It was
And I don't know what the ratings were, but I think it should be in every school. But that's besides the point. I think also that the people just either they can't believe it because it's too hard to believe, or they just don't want to. They don't want to hear it. It's too. Like they say on television, the scenes you're going to see now may be too graphic for people to watch. Well, maybe that's a situation with the Holocaust too.
That may be true. That may be true. But history is history. It's the truth. My God, you can't hide it. It's the truth to show what ordinary human beings can become monsters because of hate. So that's very important for the world to see. That's why hatred has to stop.
That's what's so striking to me about the Holocaust. One day, January 30th, 1933, Hitler comes to power, and the next day, his stormtroopers start to go out and to beat up the Jews, and the neighbors of the Jews, they join in. I don't understand that. I don't understand human beings doing that. Have you been able to grasp that? Do you understand it?
I understand it because I lived through it. I lived through it. Those were ordinary people who turned into monsters. And human nature being what it is, it wasn't a very nice, it turned out to be that we have a very mean, I don't know how to express myself.
Streak, a mean streak, maybe.
Streak, right, a mean streak in human beings. And that cannot be, that has to stop. The only way you're going to stop it is if you stop the hatred. Hate and love are both contagious. So choose love.
Right, right. And what was so remarkable was that we didn't see anybody standing up. Even the judges went along with it. Even the when the children were kicked out of school and told no Jews in the school,
Yeah.
everybody went along with it. Everybody went along with it. It reminds me of what happened yesterday in Russia. There was a little boy, a little girl, I guess, 5 years old, and she had written a little cartoon. She drew it herself, and she showed Ukraine, and she said, "Those are the heroes, and the Russians, they're the bad people." And this was in Russia. Her father was sentenced to 2 years in prison because of that, and he escaped. He's trying to get out of Russia as we speak now, but that's just, I don't know, it's so shocking to what's going on.
Yes, it is. Human nature being what it, I'm not trying to excuse it, but everybody in Germany benefited by what happened to the Jewish people. Obviously, if you took away a Jewish store, shoe store, and the other Gentile shoe stores are now benefiting by this. If you're a practicing attorney and you can't practice anymore, the Gentile attorney is picking up your business. So obviously everybody somehow or another benefited by this. And others just simply took over. They went into the Jewish houses and Jewish homes and helped themselves to whatever they wanted. I mean, everyone benefited. And that's a terrible part about human nature.
Yes, yes. And for instance, Kristallnacht, we spoke with someone who was a child during Kristallnacht. She said her mother told her, don't go outside during the night, November 9th, 10th. And when people walked out the next day, she said she remembers distinctly the crushing of the glass. The glass, that's all she heard was the stepping on glass. And she looked out and the synagogue had been destroyed right across the street.
Yeah,
and
they burned 500 synagogues, and they made sure the fire department would stand by, make sure the neighboring houses don't catch on fire, but the synagogues they let burn.
Right, even with people inside.
Some
Jews inside.
people
Yes.
inside, yes.
Yes, yes. So it's a ZACHOR Holocaust Remembrance Foundation. And I think if you can just go on the internet, contact the foundation, and you'll distribute the curriculum for the schools. It's an interactive curriculum, yes?
ZACHOR Holocaust Remembrance, well, ZACHOR.org, ZACHORFoundation.org, and you get on our website, and you'll be surprised what you will learn. I write blogs, and every blog is on my website. Very interesting to read. You see this. You see my curriculum, and you see a lot of other things. We have a shout out department, a shout out. Every time you shout out for
Shout out against hate. Yeah, we got to run, but it's a shout out. You'll see it on the website. Ben Lesser is our guest. Thank you so much. This has been Jewish Life. My name is Stewart Ain. Until next week, thanks very much for watching. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you, Stewart.
Thank you.